Okay, two women in an all-women state prison got impregnated by a transgendered inmate who was also in that same prison. Let's see how it's being covered by both the left-wing media and the right-wing media. Check it out. My name is Nathan Laurie. If you are new here, we talk about the law and the facts. If you're about that life, don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, with a story like this, I like to start with the facts. So here's how local news covered the story when it first came out. Check this out.
Two female inmates are pregnant after they had sex with another inmate at the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women in Clinton. That's the Department of Corrections. Last year, Edna Mahan began housing transgender inmates who identify as female. That's after a lawsuit filed by a trans woman who was forced to live in men's prisons.
Okay, so now we know what happened, right? State was sued and they were now forced to house inmates by their gender identity. Now, this has been a problem for many years, and even in liberal cities like New York, we've been struggling to figure a way how to deal with this situation. In this case, in 2021, let me pull this up. This woman, transgendered woman, sued. Now, the case in this case, and this is the case that you just heard from the news report, they explained to you exactly what happened. There was a transgendered woman, someone who was transitioning from male to female. They went to a New Jersey prison, and the policy back then was whatever your biological makeup was, that's the prison we're going to put you in. So if you're biologically a male, we're going to put you with men. If you're biologically a female, we're going to put you with female. So that was their policy, and it was just based off gender. This person suffered some horrors in prison, as obviously prison is not a fun place, but obviously it was especially cruel because this person was really a transitioning transgender woman and being treated as a male. And even in jail, they were just saying he, him, like they didn't give this person any benefit of the doubt. Like, we're going to treat you 100% like a guy because you're in prison. Person sued ACLU, and the state came to an agreement. And that agreement was, we're going to house prisoners based on their gender identity, not based on their biological sex, but their gender identity, essentially how they tell us that they identify. If you tell us you identify as a male, we're going to put you with the men. If you tell us you identify with the female, we'll put you in with the females. And that's kind of where we're at now. There's a state of play in New Jersey now. So this case is the reason why the transgendered woman was in a woman's prison, even though they were a physical male or they were a biological male. So this is the inmate who, when they were arrested, this is what they look like. This is one of the court appearances for the inmate who impregnated the other two women. So this is them obviously before they started transitioning. And here is the picture of them now. Remember, this person's still physically, in every way, a male, but now identifies as a woman. And this is their picture as of right now. So now, you know the facts, you know about the previous case, why all this stuff is happening, but obviously there's a political piece to it, and there's a conversation to be had about how to deal with transgendered individuals in the prison system or in the correctional facilities. So here is where we're going to now look at The Real, who is a left-wing talk show, and we're going to look at Tucker Carlson, who's a right-wing political talk show. And first, let's see how both sides open with the facts and see if they massage the facts in a dishonest manner. So let's first start with The Real. Let's see how they present the facts to us.
Allegedly, two inmates in a New Jersey correctional facility have both become pregnant by a transgender inmate after being involved in what they called a consensual sexual relationship. In 2021, New Jersey enforced a policy that allowed inmates to be housed based on the gender in which they were identified with. Now, it used to be a time when it was based on their genitalia.
Right.
And then they changed it.
Right.
So, ladies, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, what do you think about recitation of the facts? Prior case, how they did it before, how they're doing it now, and now your thoughts on it, right? Pretty good recitation of the facts, right? It's pretty consistent with what we already heard from the newscaster, from even NBC News. They even did a workup on it. So now that you've heard the facts from the left, let's see how Tucker Carlson on his show explains to the audience the facts of this case.
So in modern America, if you point out that biological sex is a physical reality, you can be fired from your job. The Washington Post will send a reporter to your house to intimidate you, but it doesn't change anything. Denying reality doesn't change reality. You could say gravity isn't real, but if you jump off the roof of your garage, you're still going to get hurt. And that's true for biological sex. It is in fact real, whether the authorities admit it or not. Officials in New Jersey are learning that lesson this week. Two female inmates at a supposedly all-women's prison in New Jersey have just become pregnant. You wonder how that happened. Well, it turns out those women had sexual encounters with another inmate who was a biological man passing as a woman. Now, some people predicted that this would happen, and they were laughed at, mocked, and attacked as bigots. Kara Dansky is at the very top of that list. She said this years ago on our show. She's the president of the U.S. chapter of the Women's Declaration International, author of the book, The Abolition of Sex, How the...
So Tucker's given us his view of it, but as you can see, The Real kind of just gave us the hardcore facts before they got into their opinion. Tucker has given us some facts, but hasn't given us all the facts, but and has pestered a heavy amount of opinion in his recitation of the fact. But I don't think there was anything deceptive in what he was saying. He just was saying that, hey, there's a reality out there, there's a biological reality, people are being attacked by it, and here's what's happening in this story. So obviously, he's laid a foundation that's a little different than what The Real did. But now, let's go into the opinions. What does each side think about what's happening? Is it okay? Do they have any options? Let's go back to The Real and see how they feel about this situation.
This is the thing. For the safety of everyone, it appears that they should, in my opinion, have a special wing. Because for right now, until we're learning how to deal with this, we need to protect transgender.
Safety is key.
And the safety. The problem is that if you have this wing, which they've done studies, it could be more problems because, you know, there could be sexual assaults on them just because
People
they're
are going
in
to
that
think they have
particular
special
wing.
treatment.
You know what I mean? So it's like, we've
unfair.
got to do something to protect them a little more. You know, and I also want to say that they're saying it's a consensual relationship.
Yeah.
But we don't know because in jail, you don't want to appear like you're a rat. So, yes, they're saying it, but you don't necessarily know if, and I'm talking about
There's
for the
so many
transgender.
Factors. There's so many
There's
factors.
so many factors. This
I feel
is
like,
really
how can
tricky.
I speak on this?
Yeah, no, this is really tricky. Should the person who's trans, should they let people know?
Well,
Like, I don't, like, you know what I mean?
Well, they would
Should-
definitely know if you're having a sexual moment with me and I have a penis and I have
Well,
sex
yes,
with
but
you,
I'm
then I would
saying,
know.
should that be something that's not announced? Because then you don't want somebody to be
well, you can see in
harassed
the
for that.
showers. They have
Yeah,
like
I don't
showers and
know.
stuff like
They
that.
know what they're doing. Both parties know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
I mean, if they're consensual, okay, then we do have an issue, and then that's why I'm saying maybe the separation of transgender people at least in a wing would prevent this, because you're not supposed to have sex in
That's
prison.
what I needed to know, because the fact that somebody was impregnated isn't the problem to me, because there are many ways that, first of all, women on women are having sexual relations in there all the time.
Yes.
So the fact that these women got pregnant, I mean, it is what it is. I think it just, the question that is being asked is, how do you treat a transsexual in the prison system?
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
So as we can see, The Real is trying to struggle. They've said maybe we want a separate wing. We don't really have any problem with this because it's, you know, men having sex with women in the women's prison. It's we expect women are having sex with women, so why cannot trans men having sex with women? I mean, trans women having sex with women. It's there's really no difference here, and they see a problem, but they see it from the side of protection, right? Trans women need to be protected, and by putting them in women's prison, they give a higher level of protection, but maybe isolate them, because Lonnie's even going farther. It's the woman Lonnie loves. She's going even further. She's saying isolate them in a separate wing, right? And even that has emotional problems. So they're looking at it from that perspective. You know, how can we solve this problem? What the best option is? And they don't consider them impregnating women in women's prison a problem. Let's see what Tucker Carlson thinks. Does he see a problem? What do you think?
For coming on, I'll never forget the first time, and it had to have been at least 4 years ago, when you said, if we keep going down this path, we're going to have biological men in women's prisons. And you were right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You know, though, the story that's happening in New Jersey is obviously horrible for so many reasons. We need to not have men being housed in women's prisons. But a couple takeaways from this that I just want to point out are, first of all, the state is not getting away with this by telling its residents that they are housing men in women's prisons. What they are doing, of course, is telling the residents that they are housing so-called transgender women or trans women in women's prisons, suggesting that there is some sort of subcategory of women that is called transgender women or trans women, and it's not true. The fact of this story shoots a hole right through the trope that trans women are women. Our society has been taught that we are supposed to say and think that trans women are women. But obviously, that is not true, because the individuals that are the focus of the story impregnated women, and every thinking adult, no matter what the President of the United States has to say on the matter, knows that there is no category of women who can impregnate women. So I really want to thank you for highlighting this story. And I also just want to point out that this is not just a problem in New Jersey. This is a problem across the country. I know that we have talked previously about how the state of California recently enacted a law at the end of 2020, which went into effect in 2021, which mandates that men be housed in women's prisons on the basis of their so-called gender identity if they say that they are women. Washington State has a similar policy. However, this is not just happening in blue states. This is happening across the country.
So as you can see, both sides are kind of taking it on different angles. The right, or Tucker Carlson, is looking at it as a biological piece, right? You can't have biological men and biological women housed in the same facilities because of things like pregnancy, abuse, and things of that nature. And you want to protect both sides. You want to protect the men and you want to protect the women. And the left wing, the real, they're looking at it in a different situation. They're saying, well, the protection should be for the transgendered people. And it seems like they're suggesting that you should segregate transgendered women out of the general population of the prisons, or just allow it to happen. And it's not really a big deal because women have sex with women in prison all the time. So why can't transgendered women also have sex with women in prison, right? They're women too. They are real women. So it's a interesting way to see how both the right and the left view this issue. And I think it really just comes down to one thing. On the left-wing side, they are viewing transgendered women as women, but even in that mentality, or even with that thought process, they've come to the reality that they're really not really women, and should be segregated, right? Segregated from the real women in the prison. Where I think on the right side, they're saying, well, we should treat them like men. And, if you're biologically a male, it's not about what you think, it's about what you are. And you should go to a male's prison, and maybe this should be something done in a male prison for you, but you shouldn't be sent to a female's prison. So my question to you is, which side do you agree with? Do you agree with kind of the left wing side, the whole, the problem is not the sex, but how to protect transgendered people in prisons, and it's okay if they have sex with each other because that's what they do in prison anyway? Or are you more on the right leaning side? There has to be some distinction for biological sex because that's what matters when you're talking about segregation in prison, and not what you feel your sex would be. Let me know in the comment section below. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'm out of here. Peace.